So that was a creative way that we said, meeting men where they are, men work. That's one institution in the community, and working with unions that have a social justice, and most have a social justice analysis. So we figured that if we can collaborate with a corporation, a union, and then a community-based organization, that would be a strong collaboration where each has a level of expertise that we can bring to the table. And this is a program that has really been running now for, I would say, about 4 years. It's going strong, and we're looking at expanding this to hopefully the Transit Workers Union once the MTA situation gets together. And again, Hombres Delegando is a psychoeducational group in the beginning, and then we develop the men to look at manhood, relationships, look at fatherhood, how they were raised as children, how has violence played an impact in their lives. It's because many of them have come from countries where there's political violence, now here in the United States. Or many of the men in the group are psychologists, but here, because they're not considered to be certified, they have to take on jobs that they normally would not, and that's very stressful for them, and that brings up violence for them, the fact that they're being marginalized and oppressed in those manners. They take that home out on their relationships with their wives and their girlfriends and their children. So that's the work that we do with them. And then we work around their issues, we train them, and they go back out into the community and reach other men and bring them back into bring them back to us. And we're constantly doing work, and they do mentorships with them and bringing them through this process. So that way, we're really approaching the needs of that specific community here in New York. So in this manner development group for young men, which is in the schools and middle schools right now in the Bronx, we're really looking at, again, looking at, what are the cultural and historical significance of, men's violence, how that's played a role in their lives, looking at other forms of oppression, how that shows up in their lives, and in particular with the young people now. Some of the research that we've done and through the experiences working in schools is that many of these children in these high schools have been witnesses to domestic violence in the household. So, and where they're getting their family support is from gang members and street life, for lack of a better word. And the things that we're competing with as people who work with, human beings and providing services and social services, the same questions that we ask our families and the young people we work with. Are you hungry? Do you need a place to stay? What do you need? Gang members are asking the same questions, and they're delivering. So what we try to do is really find a really creative way of engaging young people to look at, power and privilege, and also particularly looking at the root causes, and that really proves to be effective. And again, with the men and with these young people, many of these young people are new immigrants to this country as well. So they're struggling with just fitting in and, dealing with, being acclimated to, a new country for many of them. And this program is done in Spanish and English. Some of them only speak Spanish. And in the schools, they're not even teaching them English. So they're already dealing with struggles around, being able to communicate in an English-speaking community in terms of the school. And the men's roundtable, which is actually going to be just a little plug for the roundtable, which will be coming up Thursday the 24th. And again, this is an opportunity to work with men who are working with men and boys on an everyday basis, who may not necessarily be dealing with domestic violence issues or teen dating violence issues, but are having these conversations. And one of the impetus for this group actually was the Chris Brown, Rihanna case, where in the work that we've done in the community is that there was so much misinformation going around about what domestic violence was and power and control and types of abuse, that I wanted to kind of create a platform to have conversations with men. And again, as a domestic violence organization, we are not meeting the masses of people in the community who are dealing with these issues. And lastly, the topic of this breakout group is Where Are the Men? And next Thursday, June 17th, one of the things that we're doing with New York City Council is really bringing men from the City Council and also men from the communities, and all of you are invited to attend, where men are going to pledge their involvement into this movement to ending violence against women and girls and other men. So that'll be on next Thursday, 2 p.m. in front of City Hall steps right here in New York City. You all are welcome to attend that. And if you have any questions, I'll gladly answer when we have our question and answer period. Thank you.
We'll take questions at the conclusion of our panelists' remarks. Our next speaker is Nikisha Blaze, who is a senior research assistant at the Guttmacher Institute. She has primarily worked on domestic projects at the Institute on issues including family planning access, reproductive health counseling, abortion services, and intimate partner violence. Nikisha, the floor is yours.
Is this better? Okay. As Carl noted, I'm Nikisha Blades. I'm a senior research assistant at the Guttmacher Institute in New York City. The Guttmacher Institute is a nonprofit organization that advances sexual and reproductive health through a combination of research, policy analysis, and public education. Today, I'll be presenting on the results of a research project that was conducted during 2007 with the collaboration of the Family Violence Prevention Fund, which is a premier advocacy organization on domestic violence. But first, a bit of background. The current research on intimate partner violence, IPV, indicates that it is associated with poor and undesired reproductive health outcomes such as unintended pregnancy, abortion, and exposure to STIs. While the literature is consistent on this connection, it doesn't necessarily elucidate the mechanisms through which this occurs. To that end, we sought to gain a better picture of the dynamics that lead to these negative health outcomes. The primary purpose of this study was to collect detailed narratives of pregnancy experiences among women who had been in abusive relationships. Face-to-face interviews were conducted with 73 women who were recruited while accessing services at a family planning clinic, an abortion clinic, and a domestic violence shelter. Women who answered affirmatively to either a question on physical violence or the one on sexual violence were eligible to participate. We screened study participants using the questions that health professionals use to screen for violence. Have you ever been hit, slapped, choked, kicked, physically hurt, or threatened by a current or former partner? And has anyone ever made you take part in any sexual activity when you did not want to? In the interviews, respondents were asked to describe their relationship histories, including any experiences with pregnancy and contraceptive use. And now for the results. While we initially sought to explore the connection between experiences of IPV and poor reproductive health outcomes, the questions that we asked actually revealed that male partners were engaging in control over respondents' reproductive decisions. We've named the range of behaviors that they experienced: reproductive coercion. We've divided reproductive coercion temporally into 3 categories: pregnancy promotion, which includes all the behaviors that occur prior to conception; controlling pregnancy outcomes, which are the behaviors that partners engage in order to bring about the pregnancy resolution that he desires; and post-pregnancy punishment, which encompasses all those behaviors that are perpetrated after the pregnancy has been resolved. These behaviors do not necessarily represent a rigid sequence. They can occur independently. The women in our sample experience reproductive coercion either in multiple relationships or in one relationship, or one type to all 3 types. Pregnancy promoting behaviors undermine women's autonomy and prevent them from having control over their own bodies. There were 2 primary ways in which male partners engaged in pregnancy promotion: verbal insistence, men telling their partners that they would impregnate them pressuring their partners to become pregnant, and ignoring women's protests that they did not want to become pregnant. And contraceptive sabotage, which is interference of women's use of contraception. Men discouraged women's use of hormonal contraceptives, such as the pill or patch. They forbade their partners to use them, they prevented women's access to them, they told women about exaggerated side effects, and they destroyed them. Men also failed to withdraw during sex, refused to use condoms, and manipulated condoms in order to render them ineffective. Also, forced, often unprotected sex was another form of contraceptive sabotage. Now, I'd like to further illustrate pregnancy-promoting behaviors using examples directly from the interviews. The following respondent had a partner who refused to use condoms and tried to convince the respondent not to use birth control. If she tried to use it, she would be accused of being unfaithful. She shared, "He was like, I should just get you pregnant and have a baby with you so that I know you'll be in my life forever. Like, he wants me to have a baby, and just like he wants to do what he wants to do, but yet wants me in his life, but doesn't want me to do anything. It's just like, for what? You want me not go back to school, not go to college, not want me to do anything, just sit in the house with a baby while you're out with friends?" When this respondent became pregnant, her partner not only denied paternity, but also refused to pay for the abortions that she had as a result of becoming pregnant by him. Verbal insistence from a partner was not only very threatening for some women, but also completely ignored what the women actually wanted. When women protested, they reported that their protests were either ignored or treated as jokes. While some women experienced forced sex in the form of violent rape, others related that they engaged in unwanted sex as a result of feeling pressured. For these women, including the following respondent, sometimes the sexual intercourse was unwanted, mostly because it was unprotected. The respondent related, "I was supposed to go back for my depot shot, and I missed my appointment, and of course I can't tell him no, he can't have any sex, you know? Why can't you tell him no? Because no is not a question. No is not, there is no no when it comes to sex with him. So regardless of whether I want to get pregnant or not, you know, you can't say no." Sorry. Although this respondent was able to attempt a contraceptive regimen, she still had to contend with her partner's indifference to her desires. He refused to use condoms, and she experienced 2 unwanted pregnancies with him. The next respondent previously tried a number of birth control options that had been all opposed by her partner. Here she relates her experience while attempting to use the NuvaRing, which is a contraceptive device that sits at the top of a woman's vagina and releases hormones to prevent conception. "There was another time I started using the ring and he pulled it out of me. He asks, 'What's this? Who advised you to use this kind of stuff?' I was like, I thought I could actually hide this one, not knowing you'd come up inside of me and pull it out of me."